Welcome back to Dark Earth Customs, guys and girls. Today, I'm going to be working on the Thunderbird a little bit. But right now, I'm just going to go ahead and show you some of the vehicles I have sitting around here on my farm, Hobbiton Hills. And my plans for these vehicles later on in the year. Alright, so we have these two F-Series here. The white one's a 94 and is mine. The blue one is a 92 and is my brother's truck. Both of them are extended cabs. The blue truck is a long box. The white truck is a short box. And my plans are to take the cabs, the boxes, and all the body off. I am going to merge the two chassis together to make a 6-wheel drive, 4-wheel steer, 4-door F-Series long box. I'm going to merge both the cabs together so I can have that 4-door F-Series. This here is Hillbilly. Hillbilly I've had since probably in my mid-20s, so I probably had this for close to 20 years now, maybe 25. It started its life out as a 79 Ford Bronco Highboy. And the body was way too far gone, however, to save. So the initial incarnation had a 1982 Mustang GLX hatchback on it, which I did my fair amount of running in the swamps with. That body got too much swamp rot, and then from there on, I had to take that body off. I put this 92 Explorer of mine on it. It doesn't fit quite right, so at this point, I'm not exactly sure what I plan to do with this. I had considered actually making the driveline on this truck, which is a 6.6 liter 400 cubic inch engine along with a C6 transmission and a NP205 transfer case with a 9-inch rear end and a Dana 44 front. Pretty much the indestructible setup. I had considered just moving that all those parts over to the F-Series trucks that I have sitting over there. Whether I do that or not, I'm not sure just yet. Maybe I'll just make another Super Duty off-road vehicle. But let's go ahead and get into the barn and take a look at the Thunderbird. Okay, my favorite YouTubers. Today we're going to go ahead and look at the valve train like I had mentioned in my last video with my charger. I'm trying to decipher whether or not the stuck engine issue is in the valve train or in the block. Unfortunately, I'm still stuck using my old camera. I'm still trying to work out the microphone and volume issues that I'm having with the new camera. So I hope this one is okay. Now, you can see here that I have the valve train or the valve cover taken off of this side, which exposes the rocker arm assembly. And that's what I'm going to be taking off today. I'm going to go ahead and take off the rocker assembly, and that'll help me figure out, is it the head or is it the block? Because if it still doesn't turn when I take the rocker arm assembly off, then it's the block. And then it's going to have to be a deeper dig. Of course, I keep saying engine out. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be engine out, regardless, because I have to rebuild this engine. So, let's go ahead and get started. It's probably about 30 degrees out today. It's supposed to get to around 40. Nice pre-spring day in Minnesota. I can deal with this temperature. I think maybe I'll get started by taking the valve cover off the driver's side here so we can get both of the valve trains exposed. Which would be a 1/2 inch, it looks like, if I remember right. Yep. Okay. Now, it would appear that this is a power steering line, of course, that's in the way. On some engines, you're always going to have something in the way. And I can easily say this is not going to be an easy engine to get out of here. It is enormous. But one step at a time. And we'll get it done. Well, this is the oil fill cap. Now, here's what you don't do. Is when your gasket wears down, you don't just start adding gaskets. You can see the ears here are much higher than they're supposed to be. They're almost supposed to be level. And they're up at a 45-degree angle because it looks like the previous owner decided to just stack gaskets on here and washers and everything else to make it work. Well, that's not how it works. If it doesn't work, you buy a new one. Speaking of the previous owner, I ran across a really interesting item on this car. On the back bumper to this car, and I'm hoping maybe you guys can help me out with this. On the back bumper of this car is a signature. Now, I'm not sure if this is a signature of whoever processed at the plant, which would be unusual because car manufacturers don't usually sign cars. I thought maybe it could have been a previous owner that restored the car. I did find out that the car started its life out in Los Angeles. I don't know if it was somebody famous or just an average Joe like me. So maybe you can help out, because from what I can see, and I will clarify later if needed, but it almost looks like what is written is Bill, B-I-L-L, Poe, P-O-E. Now, the only person that I found that's what I would consider a known name is Bill Poe from the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't know if this was his car. Like I said, this started out in LA. It ended up in Illinois, and Chicago was close to Cincinnati, I guess. So maybe you guys can help me out. If you know who that name refers to, put it in the comments so I can investigate this further. I will at some point in the future be pulling up the history of this VIN number to see exactly who owned the car, where it moved around from the country, because there is a website that does that. I don't remember who it is off the top of my head, but there's a website that runs classic VIN numbers. But anyway, back to the valve cover here. That's a no-no. Just throw it away and get another one. They're not that expensive. Lots of dirt and junk and muck and can't hardly get to the valve cover bolts when they're surrounded by dirt. If you hear random noises in the background, that is just snow sliding off my barn roof. I did also order a nice set of Excel points for this car. And you may be wondering why go with points. Points are so outdated, and they make upgrades now to get rid of the points and have an electronic ignition. Well, I'm doing it for a couple reasons. One is, if you know who I am and my character and how I think about the current times that we're in, a vehicle that has points is going to be much more reliable than any computer-controlled car is, because if for some reason an EMP was let off, for whatever reason that would be, an EMP will destroy everything that's electronic, and we will be sent back to the pre-industrial age overnight. No phones, no computers, no power, no nothing. No cars, nothing that runs on computers will exist anymore. Unless you ground out your vehicles every day. And that theory in itself has never been proven. But you can attempt to ground out your vehicles by just connecting a jumper cable, to a spike into the ground. Supposedly the EMP will pass through that. Again, never been tested, can't be proven. But protection is protection. So, as for computer-controlled cars, most will just be garbage. They'll be lawn ornaments. However, cars like this that are older and don't use computers will run just fine. Cars that use points will run just fine. Secondly, this is a classic car. Now, I've taken some polls on this car on Facebook and asked people, what should I do with it? And I'll ask you guys that too. What should I do with it? The main answer I got back from everyone was a full classic restore. Now, yeah, it's a good option. A full classic restore also costs the most. What I would consider would be more like a full classic slightly resto mod. And what I mean by that is there's going to be some updates in here just to make it run perfectly. No, again, I said points, and you're going to say, well, it's not going to run perfectly. Well, actually, it will. Points that are maintained will run just as good as any electronic controlled distributor out there. You just don't let them get away from you. Points have to be, it's like changing your oil. You have to check your point gap, you have to make sure everything's firing correctly, and it will run just fine. I've had a classic car before. I've actually had a 1970 Volkswagen Beetle, and it ran flawlessly until the distributor gear sheared off the shaft. That caused a whole big problem. But the points never failed. No, it looks like I got 4 of the 5 out of here. But I'm not sure how I'm going to get that one down without a regular socket. So I'm going to have to go get a regular socket wrench extension, and I will be back. Okay, everybody, here I am back. And we're going to go ahead and try and get this last one out of here. There we go. The bigger problem is how to get this valve cover out of here. I really don't want to have to disconnect this hydraulic steering line, but it looks like I'm going to have to anyway. All right. Yeah, of course. Stuck. And before I hear all of you saying, are you really going to hit on that? All right, everyone, I'm back. I had to take some time off and trim my apple trees so they're ready for the season. But I'm back now, and let's go ahead and get back on this. I tried filming yesterday, and I thought I was filming, but I guess the camera didn't agree with me because it didn't record anything. I don't know if you can hear this in the background, but it is raining quite well outside, and it's beating down upon my barn roof. So I'm going to try to speak up some, because I have a feeling that this is going to interfere with the sound quality for this particular video. Anyways, I did get the valve cover off the driver's side yesterday. Was quite irritated that I recorded for about 15-20 minutes, and initially it showed that it was recording, but when I went to check the footage, there was nothing there. So we're just going to pick up from where I left off. The purpose of this video was to get the valve covers off so I can get the rocker assemblies off. Once the rocker assemblies are off, then I can check to see if the engine will crank over. If not, then it's going to be a seizure inside the piston cylinders. So there is really nothing left to do other than to go ahead with this, and we'll see where we want to start from. I think I'm going to go ahead and just start right on this driver's side rocker assembly. Now, unlike standard valve springs and rocker arms in an engine, these Ford 390 FEs use rocker assemblies. It's a shaft the length of the head and has all the rockers on it, so it's one whole assembly that just gets bolted right down to the head, and then you don't have to take everything off individually. It just comes off. Take out looks like 4 bolts and the whole assembly comes off. Now, I'm not going to take out the push rods just yet because I don't have a need to. The push rods, as any engine builder will tell you, if you're reusing parts such as push rods and rockers, they must be marked to go back where they came from. The general consensus is that engines wear in a certain way, and each part wears in its own way. So if you go and put a push rod or a rocker back and it's in the wrong position, it may cause ticking or low oil issues or anything of that nature, because each one's going to wear just a little bit different from the other as time progresses, years progress, miles progress. So because I don't need to take the push rods out just yet, I don't need to label them. And because the rockers come off in a whole rocker assembly, I don't need to label them. But when I do pull the push rods out, I'll show you what I do for that. There's tons of ways you can mark them. You can use painter's tape and just label each one what it is. You can poke holes in a box and just stick the rockers down in the position that they came out of the engine. You can do it with foam. You can do it with any number. You can just lay it out on a table. There's any number of ways to do it. It's nice to have it in a box or some foam so they're just sticking out so you know exactly which ones are which. But we'll go ahead and take this rocker assembly off first and see what's on this side. And again, I hope you guys can hear me. I am speaking louder than normal because of the rain. Earlier today when I was inside the house, because I work from home, I thought it was just water dripping off the roof. Then I went outside on break and found out that it was pouring rain. And it's still pouring rain. So, that's all fun. You guys missed my rant last night too, because I was talking about different topics. Considering this is Dark Earth Customs and Shop Talk, I kind of went off on a rant for a while. And you missed all that. Try to see if I can remember what I was even talking about last night. What was it? Oh, I think it was probably just about the degradation of society and how people used to care for one another. People used to be nice to one another. See, I'm a kid of the 80s. I remember those days when everybody, no matter what color of the skin they were, no matter what their religious affiliation was, everybody liked everybody. It was a whole different world for all you younger folks that all you see now is hate and anger towards one another. I kind of joke about it, but what I've said in the past is that God gave us a glimpse of heaven and gave us the 1980s. The 80s was the last official decade of freedom for America. Since then, all of our freedoms have been slowly stolen from us and put in place socialism, communism, fascism, totalitarianism. All the nasty isms now reign free in America because of the Democrat Party. They found that if they can make wars with all of us, then we're not watching what they're doing because we're fighting amongst each other. We should really be stopping what they're doing at the government levels, voting against them, making sure our voices are heard, because if we don't stop the Democrat Party from destroying America, there will be no America soon. I remember times even before the Democrat god, King Obama, became president. There were still times when people were peaceful and happy until he thought that starting a race war would benefit the government. And when I say start a race war, I mean not a physical war, but just whispering in the ears of people, trying to get people angry, saying that person doesn't like you. That person thinks you're bad. And it was amazing to watch how fast America slid down the crapper after he became president. And it wasn't because he's black. I don't care whether he's black. I don't care whether you're black, Asian, Indian, white. And I don't care who you are. The problem is when you purposely create laws to destroy America. That's my problem. And that was kind of my rant that I went on last night, and I can still go on today. I got a file of topics that I came up with to go on about and tell everybody about. And we'll see how far that gets us. People think that the Republican Party are racist, hate-filled bigots that just want everybody that's not a Republican to die. And that couldn't be further from the truth. They don't teach history in school anymore. All they teach in school now is sex ed, teaching 4-year-olds about genders when there's only 2 genders. Teaching 4-year-olds about sex. When I was a kid, I didn't learn about that until later on, because that was something that the parents did, not the school system. Adolf Hitler said, "Give me the school system, let me control the school system, and I will control the future." And that's exactly what the Democrat Party is doing. They're controlling the future by brainwashing the kids. Colleges are not colleges where you learn anymore. Colleges are indoctrination centers. Where people get told lies. Alright, this is what I was talking about. This is the whole entire rock arm assembly. And as the push rods go up in here, the other side gets pushed down and pushes on the valve inside the head and opens the valve. I will go into much greater detail on the workings of an engine once it's out and I'm starting to rebuild it. Then I'll teach everybody about how an engine actually works. Let's go ahead and get this other side off. All right. Oh, maybe I should. Well, I can leave that there. There's a windage tray in there which keeps the oil in certain areas of the head. But that doesn't need to come out. There's no need to take that out yet. Okay, some of these are going to be a little tough. I'd love to have some of those nice electric ratchets that I've seen on some of the other channels, and at some point I may buy one. But I've run my whole life so far without electric ratchets, and until recently I didn't even know they existed, which may come as a surprise to some of you, but I guess they are kind of a newer item. But I didn't know of them until probably maybe less than a year ago. They're pretty nice to have. Here's a good bit of information for you. You get into a fight with a liberal, progressive, socialist, communist. Technically, they're all the same. They all believe in government control. The more control of your life, the better. But you really want to get under their skin and make them think. Just remind them that it was the Democrats that founded the KKK. It was the Democrats that voted 100% against the Civil Rights Act for minorities. It was Abraham Lincoln, a Republican, that freed the slaves in America. It was not solely on the shoes of the white ethno-Europeans that took slaves from Africa to bring them over here. It was actually their own tribal leaders that rounded them up, put them in cages on the shores of Africa, and met with the slave traders and their ships, and usually traded for guns or money. So their own people sold them into slavery. We didn't go in there and take them. Now, these are all facts that aren't taught anymore because there's an agenda. There's an agenda to divide the entire nation and world by race. The biggest people that believe in segregation are Democrats. They want us all in our own little groups. When that's not how we're meant to be, we're all meant to be one people on one planet. There's only one race, and that's the human race. They talk about gender being a construct. They love these technical terms that they don't even know what they mean. Gender is a construct. Well, no, gender is not a construct. Race isn't a construct. What's a construct is the Democrats' belief they can make us hate each other. That's what they want. Well, the elites and the Democrat Party are over here doing things. They want us over here focused on their left hand while their right hand is working to destroy this nation and the rest of the world. Be careful what you hear. Do your own research. Because I'll tell you, I have yet to I have yet to hear a Democrat lately that is honest, no matter who they are, whether they're politics or news. I come from a heavy Democrat family. You know, the old school DFL, Democrat Farm Laborer, because I come from farm stock. And our family has been Democrat for some time. Well, at least they were in the past. But you know, when the Democrats start ruining things, your eyes open real fast. When you know the truth and you're being told lies, you wake up real fast. Now, I'm not saying the Republican Party is perfect. Far from it. But the level of evil that the Democrat Party perpetrates could probably make the devil himself cry. I've never seen such evil on this planet recently, aside from what the Democrat Party has been doing and putting into law. Their beliefs are sheer and utter evil. Well, the valve train is off. Or I should say the rocker assembly is off. The valve train is still on the head. I'm not sure. Usually you can tap on the valves lightly, and get a reflex out of them. I'm wondering if the valves themselves are so rusted, shut. Yeah, that's I have a feeling these valve guides are full of rust because I'm not seeing a return on some of these. So, that's interesting. That's obviously a problem. But is it the whole problem? I'm hoping that this engine isn't beyond repair. And technically nothing is beyond repair. It's just at what cost you want to fix it. Is it more feasible to spend time searching for another engine or another block and heads versus repairing this? Now, of course, I'm not going to know until I get all this out myself. But if the valve train is that stuck, makes me a little concerned about the rest of the lower half of the engine. And now that that's out, I wish I had a bore scope so I could take a look down in the cylinders. These are push rods. These are push rods. They go down through the head into the engine block, and they meet up with the lifters that are in the engine block. Lifters sit on top of the camshaft, so as the camshaft turns, the camshaft has lobes on it that rotate, and as the lobes turn, the push rods move up and down, and they push on the rocker arms on the valve train that I showed you earlier and open the valves, the intake and exhaust valves at the precise time to let gas and air in and exhaust out. And that's, in a nutshell, what makes your engine work. So, now that that is off, let's see if this will turn over. Now, I'm still not buying that this is going to turn over, because I can't possibly imagine it just being the heads. considering the spark plugs were missing. Yeah, that's not going to turn that way anyway. Well, let's see here. You gotta make sure not to break things like windows and everything else for this car, because these parts cannot be replaced. Well, I would imagine that at great cost and many hours searching that you could probably replace some of these parts, but I'm willing to bet it's not easy. This particular car, I'm not sure why, to be honest, is not a popular car in the classic car world. I actually think this is probably one of the best looking Thunderbirds there is. The late 50s, early 60s birds, just, I don't think were a good design. The two-seater that was built to run against the Corvette when it was first introduced, it's kind of interesting looking. Not a fan though. The late 70s Thunderbirds were nice, especially in that deep forest green that they came in. There was some Thunderbirds, the late 80s Thunderbird turbo coupes were nice. Aside from that, unless you're a diehard Thunderbird guy, which I'm not, I mean, I love all classics. And I don't care who the maker is. If it's a nice classic car, doesn't matter to me who the manufacturer is. Because back in the day, all cars were made good. Unlike now. Back in the day, cars lasted for a lot longer before faults started happening. And they're beautiful and full of chrome and full of everything. So, whether it's 69 Camaro or Firebird or a 69 Charger, 70 Chargers, a early 80s Jeep Grand Wagoneer, early 80s Chevy square body pickup. It doesn't matter. They're nice vehicles and they lasted forever. My grandfather owned he owned a lot of Chevy trucks. But he owned a 79 Chevy 3/4 ton with a 350 4-barrel. And that truck, when he bought his new one, that truck got bequeathed to me. I was in my late teens, probably. And that truck had over 400,000 miles on it before it died. And that's just common. I mean, these old cars, they ran forever. And as long as you maintained them, they would run forever. What I'm doing now is trying to get a little bit of extra leverage on the crank bolt. What was the saying, I think, from the fake god Atlas or something like that? Give me a lever big enough and I'll move the world. That's true. big enough levers will move anything. But it doesn't appear that this is ready to move just yet. So, I guess the next step then is to just continue with this assembly. I'm going to put my hood up for a bit and warm my big old ears. Although it is raining, it is still brisk. It might be about 35. It was in the low 40s today. And when I went outside, I just went outside with my flannel. It's a pretty nice day today. I mean, you mentioned 40 down south and they lose their minds and shut down the cities and don't know how to cope with that. But up here, that's spring. So, I don't know if I don't know what I want to pull up just yet. I wonder maybe get those chrome hood assemblies off. That'll give me some more room on the back side here. Right now I don't even really have just a plan of attack. It's just a matter of getting things off, because I need as much room as possible to get this engine out. My biggest nemesis is going to be the air conditioner. I don't want to take it apart because it's still in one piece, and until I get my air conditioning gauges, I don't know if I can just take this apart or if I'm going to have to make sure there's seals for it. That's the biggest problem with classic cars, is when you're taking something apart, you kind of need to know before you take that particular part off if there's going to be a replacement part available, or do you have to make sure not to break something, or what you need to do. Because some of these parts you can't buy anymore. Some of these parts aren't available anymore. People spend years scrounging the internet and newspapers and junkyards trying to find certain pieces. And I know to some of you that may seem insane, but to us car people that love cars, it's a passion, a deep passion. I wonder about taking this radiator out. I know that this darn thing has, it looks like it has mounts down here on the front cross member that also look like they're 1/2 inch. So, let's see if we can get the radiator out. And then maybe we'll stop there for the video. I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not too sure about the car's history, other than the fact that it started its life out in LA. But considering the shape the car is in, I think that it definitely didn't spend most of its life in the Midwest. Otherwise, the whole car would be rotted out, which it ain't. Most of what's on this car is just surface rust. There are some holes that need to be patched, but it's nothing too severe. I gave the car a good look over before I bought it because I'm not a fan of doing body work if I don't have to. Some people are good at body work and bad at engines. Just depends on the person and their capabilities. Some people are good at all of it. I would say I'm fair at body work and good at the rest of the car. Engines, driveline, interior. But body work is not my strong suit, but it's not out of my wheelhouse either. There we go. It's another thing about working on cars. It's always make sure you have rags. Rags, and more rags. Oh, I did put one of my spare batteries in here. I forgot to tell you guys about that. And when I plugged the battery in, I had a couple relays that I heard click on. The interior lights lit up. There are some burned out, but that's no big deal. They can be replaced. There wasn't any smoke or fire, and barn didn't burn down. So it seems that all the wiring is in good shape. And I got to get the sequential taillights to work, or at least the driver's side one worked mostly. 2 of the 3 I could see it flash in order. Later episode, but it was nice to know that I could plug a battery in and things started turning on the way they used to. All right, now do we got another one down there? It looks like maybe right dead center. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yay, somebody already loosened it up. That's good. That helps. Okay. Now the bottom radiator hose is still connected. Let's see if I can get that off. These cold temperatures sure don't help rubber. Things just don't like to move when it's 35 degrees out. Rubber just stiffens up like steel. But it's gonna come off. it's gonna come off. One way or another, it's gonna come off. And that's another thing. I gotta try to be careful with this radiator. I believe the radiator is solid because it still had coolant in it. I didn't see very much scale in it. And the fins look like they're in very good shape. So the last thing I want to do is damage a radiator that would probably not be easy to fix or replace. Oh, there it goes. All right. And there goes what little coolant is in the bottom. My brother, I'm going to have a video on about my brother in the future here. Not sure exactly when, hopefully soon. We're just going to talk about some stuff. But my brother also has a Oldsmobile Toronado. Late 60s, early 70s, I believe. I'm hoping to do some work on that car too. That's a nice, beautiful car. Strange car for the time because it's front wheel drive. It's got a really unique transaxle transmission. Not bad shape. Definitely need to get it out of the woods that it's sitting in before it rots away. I've been trying to get on my dad and my brother about that because they each have a Toronado sitting in the woods. Now we all know that's a no-no. Cars rot in the woods. So I'm hoping to make some room up here in my barn for him to be able to bring his car up here and park it in my barn where it can stay safe. As for my dad, he doesn't want to, as far as I know. But seeing classic cars, to car guys, they're kind of like our children. And seeing a classic car left alone to rot and decay and just rust to nothingness, really sad, depressing. Because it was once a beautiful automobile that's just being left to die. Kind of like old houses, beautiful old houses you see out in the country sometimes that are abandoned, falling apart. That house has so many memories in it. It used to have families in it. Same with cars. Cars used to have families in them. You know, the memories that are in these vehicles and homes is things long forgotten. And it's kind of sad in a way. So I like to save what vehicles I can and help others do the same. I'm not sure if I can make that a full-time choice due to my current physical limitations, but it would be fun. I know the guy from Vice Grip Garage, I think his name's Derek. He's a really good guy. Vice Grip Garage on YouTube does that. Goes around to save cars. And everybody has their own hobby. Cars are mine. Actually, I have quite a few hobbies, but I love cars. I know tonight hasn't been kind of a very silly episode, but things have gotten done at least. Let's see if we can get this out of here, because I sure want to get this out of here without taking the air conditioning system with it. Oh, come on. That's not nice. Really? Well, you... Well, what is that about? I thought I took those out. Apparently, the screws I took out weren't the ones that I needed to take out. I mean, they went to something, so they had to come out, I guess, but it wasn't the right ones. So, we'll take these out, and I hope they're the right ones. I think they are. I mean, you look down here between the radiator and the AC condenser or whatever it is. I always get those air conditioning parts confused. I never remember which is which. I believe this tube here is the evaporator, but I can never remember the condenser and whatever else the other parts are and where they're located. I mean, I know their names, kind of, but I never remember which one's which. This definitely wasn't a Minnesota car, I'll tell you what, because these screws that are in the bottom front of the car would never come out, ever. Would never, ever come out. They'd be rusted in place. They'd break as soon as I blew on them. They would break. So I know this wasn't no Minnesota car. I know it was from Illinois. I don't know how many years it spent in Illinois, but it had spent some time in Illinois because the title was from the 80s. And this is a 64. So I would imagine it seems like, it probably started out in LA, and then maybe 10, 15 years later it made its way to Illinois or somewhere around there, and then came up to Minnesota, and now it's in my hands. Okay. Oh, do we got something going on here? Yeah, we do. Okay, that's sitting down there. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, the radiator looks to be in very good shape. I'll probably have to bring it into the shop and have them pressure test it and make sure it's in good working order, because I sure would like to leave it as is. Needs to be cleaned up some, and a good radiator shop can do that. They can restore and refab the radiator and make it look like it's brand new. So we'll go ahead with that. Get that done in the spring. Alright, now we got a little bit more room. Except now we got the AC condenser or whatever it is here in the way. But at least the radiator's out. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video out. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.